The death of a LaGrange High School student came as a shock. 18-year-old Logan Steiner died a week before his high school graduation from an overdose of caffeine.
Sean Kripe holds back tears as he talks about the death of his son Davis, who died after drinking too much caffeine. The 16-year-old student drank 3 drinks filled with caffeine: a McDonald's cafe latte, a large Diet Mountain Dew, and a 16-ounce energy drink. It's not necessarily the amount of caffeine that led to his death, it's the fact that he drank all 3 in less than 2 hours.
A personal trainer has died after taking caffeine powder, the equivalent of up to 200 cups of coffee, an inquest is heard.
Pre-workouts, energy drinks, and coffee. Caffeine is everywhere, and in modern society, it's almost unheard of for anyone to go even a single day without consuming it. And I'm also drinking caffeine while editing this video. But recently, emerging stories and research has made us question how healthy it really is, and what long-term consequences an excessive caffeine intake can have on our heart, digestive system, mental health, and even brain function.
A warning tonight for all parents after a South Carolina teenager died because he drank too much caffeine.
Almost weekly, there seems to be a big news story of somebody dying from a caffeine overdose, usually from consuming a dose tenfold of what's recommended in a single sitting. But with the latest generation of teens and young adults consuming more energy drinks than ever before, and people in the fitness community taking several scoops of pre-workouts just to feel strong in the gym, an emerging issue may be coming for us. Now, the daily recommended maximum dose for caffeine depends on the source, but usually it's in the line between 300 to 400 milligrams per day for an adult male, which is equal to 2 cans of normal energy drinks. And although that can be easily consumed with a high caffeine pre-workout, very few people are actually surpassing that on a regular basis. However, that is just a daily maximum dose based on studies we have regarding the acute effects of high caffeine consumption, and not necessarily from consuming caffeine every single day for multiple years. But what happens when caffeine isn't just an occasional boost, but a daily ritual? Something as deeply ingrained in our own routines as brushing your teeth or taking a shower. The cumulative effects of a long-term high caffeine consumption are still a growing area of research. While the immediate effects of caffeine, like heightened alertness and improved focus and productivity, are well documented, the consequences of years of heavy reliance are more concerning. Caffeine is a stimulant, and like many stimulants, it exerts a toll on the cardiovascular system. For those who consume it in excess, the risk of increased heart rate, elevated blood pressure, and even arrhythmias become a very real concern. Chronic overuse can lead to a condition known as caffeine-induced cardiotoxicity, where the heart's efficiency begins to deteriorate. Young adults in particular are vulnerable because they often mix caffeine with other stimulants, whether knowingly or not. For example, combining energy drinks with alcohol, a very common trend at parties, not only masks intoxication, but it also amplifies the strain on the heart, leading to potentially fatal outcomes. But when it comes to the brain, the effects of caffeine is like a double-edged sword. On one hand, it blocks adenosine receptors, delaying the onset of fatigue and giving you that energy boost. On the other hand, chronic use may lead to a vicious cycle of dependency. The more caffeine you consume, the more adenosine receptors your brain produces, which can make you feel even more tired without caffeine. Adenosine, when acting on its receptors in the brain, induces sleepiness. And as a result, caffeine can interfere with the natural sleep-wake cycle, which can lead to various sleep-related issues. And this dependency often escalates into a phenomena commonly referred to as caffeine tolerance, where people require increasingly higher doses to achieve that same stimulating effect. And what usually happens when they try to cut back, withdrawal symptoms like headaches, irritability, and brain fog can set in, making it even harder to quit, which causes it to become sort of like an addiction. The digestive system can also take a massive hit. Many people experience acid reflux, stomach discomfort, or even gastrointestinal distress as a result of high caffeine intake. Now, this is partially because caffeine stimulates the production of stomach acid, which can lead to conditions like gastritis or worsen pre-existing digestive issues over time. Moreover, caffeine is also a diuretic, which means excessive consumption can lead to dehydration if not balanced with an adequate water intake.
Very dehydrated.
This is especially problematic for those in the fitness community who usually combine heavily caffeinated pre-workouts with intense training sessions, risking dehydration and electrolyte imbalances, which for a lot of top-level athletes who compete in bodybuilding, who also take copious amounts of anabolic steroids, can cause a lot of negative health outcomes, especially for the heart. And at the heart of the issue is our own culture of normalizing caffeine dependency. Coffee has become more than just a beverage, it's now a lifestyle. At work, you have coffee breaks. Energy drinks are marketed as essential for productivity and performance. And pre-workouts are touted as non-negotiable for most gym goers. For many, caffeine isn't just a choice, but a necessity to keep up with the demands of the modern day life. It's also been highly promoted in gaming communities and for kids who just sit in front of a screen all day and just chug down 2, 3, or even 5 energy drinks in a single session. Yet, the consequences of this normalization are just starting to emerge. Several studies have linked high caffeine consumption with an increased risk of anxiety disorders, particularly amongst young people. The same research suggests that caffeine's stimulatory effects may exacerbate existing mental health conditions, creating a feedback loop of just stress and dependency. And with today's teens and young adults becoming less physically active, depending more on constant dopamine from social media, and the rise of many lifestyle-related diseases, often with a root in obesity, caffeine consumption is probably not helping, as it can contribute to us never really letting our minds rest. Instead, we're in a continuous loop of stimulation, which only seems to get worse. But the solution isn't to just vilify caffeine, because it has benefits when consumed responsibly. It can curb hunger, improve focus and concentration, as well as performance-enhancing benefits in the gym and in sports. I myself am sponsored by a supplement company in Rice, and they sell a lot of great pre-workouts which do indeed boost performance in the gym. But it's critical to foster awareness about how much is too much and to encourage moderation. Start by paying attention to your own daily intake, maybe read some labels, track your consumption, and ask yourself if you're really reaching for that second or third scoop, can, or cup out of necessity, or if it's just a habit. Ultimately, caffeine should be a tool and not a crutch. By finding the balance and recognizing when enough is enough, we can actually avoid the crushing effects of the stimulant and reclaim control over our own health. Like if you start to wake up with symptoms of anxiety, cutting the caffeine may help the situation. And the same can be said for those who struggle sleeping or those who struggle with consuming enough food. The point of this video isn't to fearmonger caffeine, because it is useful and one of the best natural performance enhancing supplements, and taking it before the gym can also enhance the gym experience and associated with positive feelings. And keep in mind, the stories like the ones shown on news outlets are often very exaggerated situations where people have consumed insanely high caffeine doses over long periods of time, often together with other stimulants to continuously fuel their dopamine. But maybe in time we will see some actual long-form research on the crushing effects of high caffeine consumption. Thank you guys so much for watching, and it may not be the right video to say this, but if you want to try out a new pre-workout with or without caffeine, you should check out my sponsor at Rice Supplements, where you can get a pretty hefty discount by using code BACK at checkout. These videos take a lot of time to make, and I really appreciate you guys so much for leaving a like or maybe even just a comment, because every time you engage with one of my videos, it pushes it out to more people so I can keep making content. So again, thank you so much for your support, and I will see you all